Welcome to the Hurtful podcast. It's kind of funny, like I have this friend in LA and I met him through Instagram and we were going to be planning some big events and stuff for mental health awareness and different types of things with some projects I'm doing, which I'll probably have you involved with at some point as well.
For sure.
And he's the one that introduced me to your account and just told me like he would be cool to have on like a podcast or something. And that's Andrew. So shout out to Andrew. Uh, so yeah, like I don't know. Tell me why you were willing to get on a podcast and like what you were willing to do for people. You know.
So to be honest, bro, I've been trying to do collaborations with different pretty much like social media individuals, but I really couldn't make the time for it, or I didn't really put the hours in. And then you kind of hit me up. I went through your content and I was like, all right, I like what he has to say. Like he has some genuine value here. Saw the YouTube videos in the cars and whatnot. So I was like, all right, I fuck with his
Sweet.
content.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I like what he has to say. So I just want to get in the routine of trying to, I guess, like network.
Hmm.
I For the past like 2 years, I've been making content, things of that sort, and come to the realization that we can't do this shit on our own, and
Yeah.
we have to meet with like-minded individuals and kind of grow together. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. That's why I sent you the link and I said Avengers Initiative. I'm trying to find some people that are on the same mindset of really just trying to provide value. And that's really what I'm about. For the past 2.5 years, my content is pretty much like all over the place in a sense. I really talked about pretty much like the three pillars: mind, body, and money. And I would say for the last 5 to 6 months, I've really just been focused on personal finance and trying to
Hmm.
help people in that vertical, because I feel like you have to be focused in on something specifically, have a specific avatar, specific audience,
Yeah.
so you could grow initially, and then hopefully with the intention of branching out a little bit more to kind of like that original concept that I had of mind, body, money. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
bro.
talk about that whole thing a lot, like in terms of not just the mind, body, um, stuff like that, but also what you had just said about a target audience and then building something around a specific niche. Like that's why I have multiple different accounts. And me as a person, Blake the Protagonist is a whole brand in itself, which is based around just self-development. And then I got the other ones that are more for other things I'm doing or types of people that I want to sell to eventually. So I definitely
Mhm.
feel you there.
When did you start just making videos and content? Because I'm always interested, because I understand that journey, and especially like
Yeah,
I know you actually fucking grind and put in a lot of content. So I was curious, like, when did
appreciate
you
it.
start?
I appreciate that. Yeah, basically whenever I was younger, not even super young, like let me think, like probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would be posting videos on Snapchat every once in a while. And so I was basically making videos just talking to myself or talking to people and like telling them real shit. To be honest, that's
Right.
exactly it's always that's why I call them real talks on my videos on YouTube.
Mhm.
I was like, I like that they're not super edited. There's me talking, and so I did that, and then I would go to like a bar or something for like every once in a while. So I went to this one. It was like the first time I'd ever gone out really, and so I went out there and I saw this guy, and I hadn't seen him in like a year or two, and he was from my college, and he's like, by the way, when I would be posting those videos, no one would say anything. No one would like
Right.
ever swipe up and say anything. Well, then he is like, "Hey, bro, like those videos helped me a lot." I'm like, "What?" So
Yeah.
that happened to me again, and like a year later,
Mhm.
the same exact thing. I was just randomly posting videos on there, and these girls are like, "Blake," and I'm like, "What's up?" And then they're like, "Those videos helped me a lot." I'm like, "What?"
You're like,
I was
okay,
like,
okay.
I was like, all right, I gotta actually just post them and get over myself. You know, it's all in
Right.
your head. It's all in your head.
Yeah, bro. It's definitely, I think initially when you start, it's almost like, fuck, bro, I don't want to put myself out there. Like, I don't want, my friends are going to be asking me, like, yo, why are you making TikToks and shit like that? So I definitely, I hear you on that point. Like, the start is always the hardest, in my opinion. But like once you kind of get into the flow, it's just like a normal day, right? Like you make the video,
Exactly.
you make the reel, the YouTube, and kind of just go on through your day. Do you feel like, and I'm just curious from my own personal,
Yeah.
do you feel like you get a lot of pushback or a lot of questions from like your family and friends as to like what you're trying to do with it?
To be honest, no.
No?
I think that's kind of interesting to me because you expect it, but
Right.
like for me, no. Nobody ever says anything. I mean, all right, here's one time I had this girl that I had like matched with on a dating app, and
Hmm.
she like asked for my Instagram, so I sent it, and she's like, "Oh wow, you're like very open about your thoughts and feelings, and it's like it's a good thing, it's a good thing, but blah blah blah." And then all of a sudden, she just stops talking to me. So I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
shit.
but I don't care because the thing is, at the end of the day, first of all, I'm not worried about that at all in general, but
Right.
also like if you're putting yourself out there, you should be okay with people not wanting to be around you. And I feel like especially what I'm talking about, it really makes you think about yourself. And some people don't want to face themselves or they're not ready for that, you know?
Hmm.
So for me, I guess to answer your question, pushback. The only pushback comes from yourself. And
Hmm.
if you get people talking like telling you um, like that's weird or cringy or whatever, you just have to not care. Because it really will just, if you're really genuinely proud of what you're doing, then you don't care what other people have to say about it. That's just how it goes with anything you do.
100%. I think there was like a quote that I read. I think it was Jay Shetty. He's just like internal validation versus external validation.
Mm-hmm.
So I always keep that in the back of my mind because it
Yeah,
really is like so key, bro. Because a lot of times we're just in our own head trying to like doubt ourselves and tell ourselves like, oh, this isn't gonna happen, like etc. So
exactly.
I get you on that
Exactly.
for
It's
sure.
all in your head. And content to me, my content as Blake the protagonist and on the Hurtful Truth podcast and everything, the whole point is self development. And
Mhm.
that's what I realized that brought everyone together, no matter what path you're in, as long as you're somebody that wants to be better, which is really most everybody that's successful, they had to look within themselves. Those are the types of people I wanted to talk to. So that is my target audience, you know?
Dope, dope. And do you have like a Discord or like a community?
We don't have a Discord for Hurtful Truth. I have the protagonists. So I do have a Discord for that. I
Mhm.
guess that would be the Discord for the Hurtful Truth people too, because all of you, if you identify with becoming like the main character in your own story and building your own path, that's the point of the protagonists. And
Mhm.
so everybody that wants to build their story and like control their lives, take control, you know, then
Yeah.
hop in there. I'll actually link it. And it's really cool because I set it up all for us to ask for advice or connect with each other. And I have some really cool people in there. So,
Yeah. And do you think like most people are usually in their own heads versus like external things that
bro,
are like
everyone's in their head, bro.
right.
Like
Yeah.
everybody. It doesn't matter if it's me or you, and we're
Yeah.
like far along. We're gonna be in our head at some point, and it's like everything stems from us. So
Right.
I agree. Like I already know we're on the same page in terms of that. For you, I wanted to let people know, like, and I want to know because I
For
don't
sure.
have a ton of backstory on you. I just think that I like your content a lot, and you just seem like somebody that I would get along with, which we obviously do.
Yeah.
So, why don't you just tell me like some of your origin story?
So my origin story, bro, I was born and raised in Miami. My dad's from Cuba, my mom's from Puerto Rico. And I would say throughout my childhood, it was pretty normal. I played GameCube, PlayStation. I played basketball for a while. I dealt with a lot of self doubt, honestly, and that's why I really fuck with your content because I could
Mm,
see how you could truly provide value to people that are in that situation of just like whether it's anxiety or not believing in themselves, etc.
thank you, bro.
And as I moved along, once I graduated high school, I felt kind of lost, not gonna lie, because I was super obsessed with basketball. I didn't have any scholarships, anything of that sort. And I was just like, all right, now I need to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do now. And through like, I went to community college. I graduated high school with like a 2.8 GPA. I pretty much just went to community college because it was like the default mode of what everyone else was doing. So I was like, all right, I mean, I guess this is what I'm doing. Throughout that journey, I started hanging out with one of my friends specifically that I knew from high school, and he got me interested in pretty much investing in stocks. And
Hmm.
at the time, I had no idea what it was, and I was just curious. I was like, I mean, this seems interesting. I like the idea or the concept of being able to make money by myself versus like having to exchange 1 hour of work for one. I mean, pretty much like incremental dollars.
Yeah.
And as I went down that rabbit hole, I became obsessed with like self development. So I started reading books like 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, $1 Million Weekend, etc. And that's where that kind of energy sparked of entrepreneurship or trying something at least different, like working on my own. And throughout the kind of journey, I started my own drop shipping stores here and there, failed miserably for like 14 months, 16 months. I had no idea what the hell I was doing every day, just grinding, trying to figure it out. Eventually, I had some system that worked for me. I found on Google Trends there was a huge kind of spike in attention for bucket hats
Mm.
in New Zealand and Australia. And through there, I had my own e commerce store. I did that for like 7 months and it was going relatively well. I wasn't making insane money. I think the most I made was like 1,500 profit in a month. But for me at the time, I was like, holy shit, this is dope that I have this little system that's making money for me. Um, I think like the downfall of that, I then got a corporate job after like my part-time job
Yeah.
because it paid me pretty much like double what I was making before. So I kind of got lost in the sauce in that sense and I dropped everything just to make more and more money. And then eventually from there, I kind of stopped. I died out with like kind of the ambitions of doing something on my own. And I went to go work in New York on Wall Street in something called prime brokerage. And I did
Mm.
that for the past 3 years. And during that time frame, I started watching videos from Gary Vee talking about building your personal brand and
Yeah.
things like that. And then I was like, you know what, bro? Like, I've always wanted to do something on my own. I feel like I have some value that people could tap into. And for the past 3 years, I've just been creating content in the form of YouTube videos, podcasts, and as of probably the last 10, 11 months, transition over to my personal finance, building wealth boot camps. So it's been like a very weird journey for myself, bro. It's been kind of all over the place, but somehow I've ended up here today talking to you, bro. So
Yeah.
that's really what I could say from my experience, man. I went to a 4 year university, received my master's degree in finance, but I've still always had like this missing piece in my life that I'm still trying to figure out, like what is going to make me fulfilled. Because every job that I took, even if it made me more money, it was still like something wasn't clicking, bro. It wasn't clicking for me. And I feel at this point in time with my content stuff, I still have a long way to go, but I feel like it is headed in the right direction of people genuinely saying like, I actually fuck with your content. I feel like it provides me value, and that's what I'm pretty much here for. So
I'd say
yeah, man,
that, bro, that's like the biggest flex because if you can inspire others, then you're changing the world, you know?
100.
Um, with the college thing, that's really something that is respectable that you got a
Mhm.
master's degree. And
Yeah.
then I wanted to speak to people. I want you to speak to people that are going through what you go through, and then also people that are the opposite situation. Like, what are your thoughts for the people that aren't going to college? And then what are your thoughts for the people that are? Like, what were you searching for? You said it wasn't clicking. So,
So I think, for my personal opinion, like once again, when I speak on college, I can't be biased from the standpoint because like it helped me get jobs that paid me well. But what I would say is that I don't think it's for everyone. And a lot of times I feel like people just do it because they want to get validation from their parents or pretty much like their family's telling them, like, yo, you need to do this because this is like the way to have like a life that's optimal. But in the reality, there's a lot of degrees that you could go to school for, and it's not gonna really give you any value. So like some individuals, like my brother is a barber, he didn't go to university and he just decided like I'm gonna be a barber right away, and he was able to make a living off that, and he still does, and he's not in debt. and he makes good money for that. So I feel like people need to figure out what they want to do. Sometimes it may be optimal for someone to go to community college maybe for 2 years, just to like, if they do find that passion, they could at least have that in store. Or like just figure out something that you feel passionate about and do that after high school and go through that route and figure out what is it that you truly want. Because it doesn't benefit anyone to be miserable in something that you chose when you were like 18 right out of high school, and maybe 10 years later you're still doing it and you're just like, you feel a little soulless kind of. um, but once again, like, I think there's a duality to everything. It's not binary. I don't think it's like one or the other. For some people, going to college is a really great decision. For others, I don't think so. But that's kind of my take. You really have to understand what you like, and I feel like the only way to do that is by actually putting time outside of school. So like, if you're going to university, try figuring out on your own what is it that you find a passion for. So like, when I was in school, I was talking to friends, talking about different ideas and seeing what I was truly passionate about, and that made me figure out, you know what, like, I actually really like investing in finance, so I'll just go ahead and study that. But once again, like, I'm still in that kind of that black box of saying I don't really like being confined to employers telling me what I can and cannot do, and kind of like the hours I want to work. So, like, the prime example that I read the other day from Tim Ferriss, he talks about this concept of relative income versus absolute income. And he says, in two separate scenarios, if let's say some individual is making $100,000 and he's working 100 hours, and the other person's making 40,000 but only working 4 hours, I mean, 10 out of 10 times I'm going to choose the second option because you work significantly less. And tying to that concept as well, like, in the corporate environment, I could be a million times more productive than the person next to me. And even if I wanted to choose to only work 2 hours a day, they're not going to let me. Like, sure, they'll give me the raise and the promotions, but the reality is, it's like a never ending game. Like, they're just going to keep putting more and more work on you. Even if you make 10 times more money, it's cool, but you're still going to be confined to that, like, that schedule that they put on you. Even if you're, once again, a million times as productive as anyone in that company. And that's the thing, like, I don't really like, because it feels like it's an endless race. And they talk about like the rat race. I feel like there's some truth to that. A lot of times people set up these imaginations as to, all right, once I get this much money, that's when I fucking reach the pinnacle and I could live my life. But it's never ending, because there's lifestyle creep. Someone's gonna make 70K, they upgrade their lifestyle, they make 100K, they slowly upgrade their lifestyle to a nicer apartment, maybe a nicer car. They go to Chipotle a little bit more than they used to. They do all these different things, and they keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. And by the time they realize that, they're stuck in that job, maybe making 200, and they're like, fuck, I can't do anything about this situation. I can't leave this job now. I can't do what I want to do because my expenses are just through the roof. So that's effectively like where my mind's been at, bro. Just that concept of living the life that fulfills me, and doing something that I could wake up and be pumped and hyped. Like, all right, today I'm gonna make a difference, and today I'm gonna enjoy what I'm working on. So
Bro, yeah, that's very insightful. There's this guy that I used to work with. He's a famous personal brand in stocks. What's funny about what you just said and how it compares is like all these people that would talk to us. Basically, he had a course. So he had a course in like a community that helped people get into stock options. There was a lot of people that had a lot of money. They made a lot of money, and they just wanted to get out of the 9 to 5. And it's really interesting because you talk to so many people, they're already making tons of money, like the type of money that most people want to make so bad, but they weren't living how they want to live. So me and my other friend Alex, we've talked about that quite a bit. It's what you want versus how you want, and the how you
yeah.
want always is more important overall, and how you want to live. So
And one of
what
the
you
things I
have
would
isn't as
mention,
important. Go ahead, bro.
yeah, one of the things I would mention, Blake, is that, I talk about from that standpoint as well, but I also want people to understand that For most, and I think for most, they might actually want that lifestyle where they don't have to like really put too much effort on all these different moving parts, and they just want to be like, all right, I want to work 8 hours a day and go home and not have to worry about like everything else. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's from that quote from Spider-Man. It's like with great power comes great responsibility,
Yeah,
and it's
bro.
true, bro.
Oh
Because like
man.
if you're trying to like right now, bro, doing what you do takes so much effort. Because you have to run everything, bro. Like you have to figure out the
Yeah.
marketing.
It's
You're the content
self-discipline.
creator.
You don't have
Yeah,
someone on your ass every day going, "Hey, do this, do this, do that, do that." And I've had people like come into commission only types of sales, and the way that they operate is just it won't work. Like they need to
exactly.
be told what to do, you know?
And like one person told me this the other day, and I was like, damn, I appreciate that. But I think the same applies to you. Like most people are not able to do what you've done consistently and do it for the opportunity of being able to live out their dream, because a lot of people don't understand the concept of exchanging time for $0 for maybe an extended period of time to then get that reward. You get what I'm saying? Like most people are accustomed to saying, all right, I work this amount of hours, I deserve this amount of dollars in return. But like from my standpoint, bro, like maybe in the content creation, for the first 2 years, I made $0 and 0 cents for 2 straight years. So I'm just making content for free, like putting
Hmm.
hours and hours of my day that I could have been freaking playing Fortnite or doing whatever, right? So it comes with sacrifice too, bro. It comes with sacrifice too, and I feel like, and everyone's situation is completely different for sure. Like I've been very fortunate that I come from a middle class family too, so I had a lot of luxuries that maybe a lot of people in the world don't have. You get what I'm saying? So everyone's situation is completely different. Yeah.
Even if you're from that, you need to get out of your comfort zone, and I'm sure you have, or you wouldn't have. I mean, how did you end up meeting Gary Vee? I saw that you met him too.
So I met him in VCon. So he had this conference in Minnesota 2 years ago. So he had like a little meet and greet section there. So I spoke to him there. And then I also spoke to him when I was living in New York. He had like this little meetups in Macy's, like randomly on Instagram. I saw it, and I just pulled up on him. But he's super super cool dude. And tying to what you're saying about like taking the risk, I agree. There's this thing that I always try to remind myself that it's pretty much like doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
So in my day-to-day routine, I'm kind of like paranoid in a sense. I always try to question myself and say like, am I doing the things necessary or am I doing the things that are just make me the most comfortable? So like I have to always find that balance of saying, all right, am I pushing myself like to do the things that are uncomfortable that can move me forward in the right direction? So, an example is going to those conferences, me being pretty much naturally introverted, saying, all right, I need to push myself to talk to at least one person and then kind of up the bar and keep talking to different people and kind of move along. Everyone's fears are different and kind of what they shy away from. So I like to figure out what that is in my personal life and attack that.
Well, for you
So
then, I've had the same thing. It's funny because people will look at me and be like, "Well, you're just like extroverted." But then there's other people they look at me and
I've
they're like,
had that
"Well, you're
too.
just introverted." So they don't know. It's just because I'm showing you a side of me every day that you see me, uh, whoever it is, whatever situation I'm in. So it's like really deep down, I'm an introverted person. I don't really. I'm only extroverted because I pushed myself to get used to it, and now I'm at the point where it's comfortable. I'm so comfortable with myself that I'm comfortable
Right.
enough to walk up to that guy. It could be fucking Gary Vee. It could be anyone, but it's like I feel like it's the same for you. We could whenever you've done the inner work, you realize that we're all really similar. And I think that everyone just has the same fear of rejection at first. And once you get over your fear of rejection, it's smooth sailing with whatever you do. I wouldn't call it smooth sailing. It's just smoother sailing.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I've gotten that shit too. Like, oh, you could do the videos because that's like your thing. Like, it's like, bro, my first videos were so cringy. Like, I didn't know how to. I mean, I'm still trying to improve. Like, I'm nowhere near like Jay Shetty type level, obviously. But at the beginning, it was very
We
uncomfortable.
wouldn't know the
Like clearly,
difference,
you could
bro.
see
We
it in my
wouldn't know the difference. It's just, yeah, you're just
yeah,
earlier in your career. What were you saying?
yeah. So no, go
No, I
ahead,
was
bro.
just saying basically like for Jay Shetty, he's just a different person. That's the thing about a personal brand. It's like you don't really need to be like anybody. I know you know that, but I'm saying for other
Yeah.
people, it's like whenever you're making your content, you just need to be yourself. That's it. Like
Hmm.
look at all my videos. I promise you, I talk about that stuff regularly on accident. Like that's just the phone calls I have with my friends. That's not even like
Right.
some I don't just think I'm just some wise monk, but I just thought about
Hmm.
things in my head, you know? So I'm
Yeah.
throwing out my thoughts. Now, if that helps you, that's what it's the goal is to help people. And it's also to obviously no matter what you're doing, it should be to provide value in some type of way, even if that's just entertainment. It doesn't matter, but it needs to be providing value to the person. And then eventually you can exchange that value for something as well, you know?
Hmm.
So
I think there's truth to what you said because there's longevity when you're
mhm.
yourself. Because it's not like a persona; it's just who you are. So,
Yes.
like once again, most people they kind of stop. Maybe some people stop a weekend. They're like, all right, this personal content thing isn't for me, or
Yep.
they stop 6 months, a year. And I think most the people that will stay long term are the ones that actually have a passion for it and that are being themselves.
Very true.
And yeah, I think feel I don't know. I have a question for you, but in terms of like your friends, right? A lot of times, and this is not from my friends specifically, but a lot of times I hear that like social media is saturated, and
What?
maybe there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that, but when I look around, I don't really see too many people that I know, let's say from high school or college,
No, bro,
making
I
content.
disagree 100% with that. I was it
You,
made me laugh because of the
yeah,
fact that I believe that well think about all right, how many people are consuming on a daily basis? The same amount of people
that's what
no,
I'm saying,
but
bro.
even the
Yeah.
same people that are making the content, a lot of them still consume content. So that means that there has
Hmm.
to be way, way, way more consumption going on. There's people on TikTok all day, they don't create content. So how is it oversaturated? There's not even enough content for each person in the world. They're going to be rewatching a lot of the
No,
same
that's true.
content they've already seen.
No, that's true. Because I don't know if that's like sometimes people's default answer to justify
Yeah.
like why they don't want to do it. Like they just say that versus being like, you know what, it's not really my
They do
thing.
that with everything.
They'll
They do
say
that with
like,
drop
oh,
shipping. They do
yeah,
that with whatever the business model is. You can't, the
hmm,
business model is not saturated. It's the things that the people that use those business models are doing sometimes, maybe what they're selling or what the specific thing they're doing. It's about changing your niche or changing the product or the service, and how you present it,
right,
which is brand positioning stuff. So I don't know. That's really interesting to me. I just find that funny because they always are trying to blame things on, like you said earlier, it's already come down to that multiple times throughout this conversation. How people will blame, well, you're an extrovert or you're just good at that, bro. You think I was already good at
hmm,
music before I started making music? I had to get good at music. You think I knew how to do
right,
this? You think I knew how to do this? I didn't know how to do this. This is a skill, not a talent. The talent is the
right,
capability that you have sometimes of doing certain things, right? Or maybe you have
hmm,
the word is proclivity, right? Proclivity to the what's the word? It starts with an A, but I can't think of it. But basically, it's your ability that's already kind of there. Like you have
like your
yeah,
innate
your
your
innate
innate ability
advantage a
to do
little
something.
bit. But even like they always
Hmm.
say, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So you're still going to be ahead of people that are talented. It doesn't matter as long as you're actually building the skills. With music, I am naturally good at music, but at the same time, I'm not naturally good at the skills that are required to make music. Like I have to learn computer stuff. You think that that's part of like the talent part? It isn't.
Right. Yeah, it takes
So
time.
yeah, same thing. Like I'm good at talking because I talked a lot, not because
Hmm.
I just naturally came out of the womb talking.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's the. I don't know. I think people think of social media as like, oh, it's like saturated, or oh, you're trying to like get rich quick, but it's really just like the distribution
Mhm.
of like where everyone's at. Like at least when I was younger, everyone was typically like if they would watch TV, they had like three channels: Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney. But nowadays, people there's like TV channels don't. It's not really a thing. People are mostly either on their phone, like on Instagram or TikTok, or they're on a streaming service. So like from that standpoint, if you understand everyone's attention is there, then you could realize like we could be the MTV or the Cartoon Network that people could just tune in and listen to like whatever
That
we want
is
to
a
like
great
promote.
analogy. And another thing is
Yeah.
that each of these platforms usually has a different type of person overall that like
Hmm.
mainly is on that platform because it's more specifically the way that it works is more catered to that type of person. Like Twitter usually has people that like to read and write
For sure.
because it has videos, so it's really cool. But I feel like that draws a different type of attention. So it's like knowing how to present yourself in all these different forms is really helpful for repurposing content and realizing like how it all works together. Because like right now, you already knew what we're doing. Like with this podcast, we're gonna be able to clip this, post
Right.
it. We can edit this, but we can also post it on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram,
Yeah, we could make
Twitter.
like 40 pieces of content off this conversation.
It's crazy. And then you think about this. This is how I think about everything with all the brands that I'm building and stuff. Is that you have like a main overarching idea concept, and you can keep drawing more and more content out of that concept, sub concepts, I guess, subcategories,
Hmm.
and then go into those. Like for example, with music, even I can take one of our topics that we just talked about. I can make another 10 videos about that same topic. I can make another 10 articles about that topic. I can then go ahead and make 10 songs out of those each videos that I
Yeah, it's
made.
infinite. It's
It's
infinite, bro.
infinite, bro. Like, and then you can have other people have their take on what you said, make a
Yeah.
video about it. And now you're in those videos too.
Yeah. And even from like the business side, man, like I feel like it's so obvious to see where the attention is at. If you look at, let's say, Prime Energy Drink with like Logan Paul and all those people, even Mr. Beast with Feastables and things of that sort, a lot of this next generation is coming up on consuming content that's very like independent, whether it's like a YouTube influencer or like content on Instagram they consumed. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they're gonna pick that product that of that individual that they've been following for 10 years plus over a big corporation.
Yeah.
And that's where you see that shift, bro. Like it's insane. Like now with Jake Paul, I think he came out with W, or it's like competing against Axe and Old Spice and shit like that. And I'm like, bro, he's gonna crush them. I think because he just knows, he gets it. He gets
Happy
the
Dad. Happy
platform.
Dad is
Happy
going
Dad too, yeah.
crazy. And
Happy Dad too.
they're killing it. Cause like I went to LA, and it was like in stores all over the place. And now it's everywhere. It's like these guys started as little just Canadian kids making videos. And then they just kept going. Now they have Trump on a podcast. And the funny
Yeah,
thing about that is that it's like so independent. And it's so just them as kids that
100%.
it made it less political, even though it is political in that case.
Right,
It made it less political. It made it more like, let's just have a conversation about something and start a conversation.
right. Yeah,
And
did
that's
you
what
see
my goal
that?
is.
Yeah, you see, I think it was Aiden Ross. He had Trump on. I think it was like yesterday or a
I
couple days
didn't know
ago.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking
What?
nuts. He had like 600,000 people live on a stream, just him and Trump.
No, that's crazy because he just got shot at. So like, and
Yeah,
shot. So the fact that he just hops on and some random, not
it's
random, but
nuts.
some dude on YouTube that started in his room just making Fortnite videos, and then he started working with Andrew Tate, and so that's the thing is you can turn anything you do into like something that entertains people or gives them
A
something.
100%. I saw this guy on TikTok that this guy probably makes a fuck ton of money and he does like cotton candy animals. Like that's his thing. He
What?
has like over 2 million followers and he legitimately like he just does what he likes. Like someone could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by making Lego pieces of Star Wars characters. Like never in the dawn of human time has that ever been a thing, bro. Like 2024 is nuts, man. Like we could legitimately monetize off any specific niche that we have, like a very defined niche that's one of one, people have an audience. Like there's probably millions of people that they're good. Like one day they're going to be following you. They just don't maybe haven't seen your content yet, but there's millions of people for every type of niche. Is just like trying to figure out how they could see it. Is
It's
like
really
the
cool to think about, man. Like,
yeah, it's
and it,
trippy.
it is. It's weird because like whenever you realize something is your reality, that's whenever you build it. And I think me and you have already realized that's our reality in the long run. So we don't really. That's why it's easy for us to just pump content and just do what we do, is because we know where it's going,
Hmm.
guaranteed. Because like if you're you're doing the thing that you need to do, there's no way over the rest of your entire life that it doesn't eventually go somewhere. And it's already helped me. I'm sure it's helped you somehow. I wouldn't even
Hundred
know
percent.
you.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, bro. It's just you meet individuals that are like-minded just because we were making content, and
Yep.
we could build a network that's not based upon like our own circumstance, whether it's like our radius, people that live around us in our own neighborhoods. Just like, all right, we find people that are like-minded based upon like our what we value. I don't know, at least from my perspective, I feel like that there's a disconnect in actually like what is going on with the trends in terms of like streaming with video games. Like that's fucking massive. That's why like Aiden Ross and what's his name? I forgot his name, but guys like Aiden Ross, Nick Merckx, all those people, they make a lot of money, and it's based upon like just where the attention's at, which I think it's the streaming. Like live streams are big, and the short form content seems to be like right now in August 6th, 2024 seems to be like the move.
Well, another thing that people need to start thinking about is not where it's at, but where it's going.
Mm,
Because
facts.
that's more constant. That's
Facts.
more like where it's everything's always moving. Like your entire life is constantly moving. And when people are so focused on where things are, they're already too late. But at the same time, not always, but because some things will always be popular. Number one, people, oh, what do they really value? This is how you really get to the bottom of stuff. You
Mm,
start to ask questions, why? I always say that. So, number one, like if you were trying to figure out where the attention is going or how you could monetize what you're doing, just think about why do people even tune into those videos? Like what would be your answer? Why do they watch it? People play video games.
so I think it's just the appreciation of how nasty they are at that game. I think I don't know because like my fiance one time maybe 2 years ago I was talking to her about like, oh, people watch people play video games. She's like, why the fuck would people watch people play Fortnite? Like why wouldn't they just want to play? I'm like, yeah, they do want to play, but they also like watching it because they do things that are like incredible that they can't do themselves.
While that's true,
Yeah.
that's not the number one thing. Because the real
So.
overarching thing, of course, is entertainment. And then you ask, like,
Mhm,
why does it entertain them? It's not always
mhm,
that the person's good, though. Because
mhm.
a lot of people are watching people that suck too. Like, it's
That's
just,
true. That's
but
true.
it's because they're funny or
Right.
because it brings them some type of joy to be there. And it's about how it makes them feel. And if they're
Mhm.
in there and they feel like they're a part of something, that's another thing. So, like, I've
That's true.
realized with a lot of these people, they just are happy to be able to hang out. Eventually, I'm just gonna get to randomly play a video game and still make money. It doesn't matter what.
100%. Do you know who Tom Billieu is?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
he was
Impact Theory.
Yeah, he was streaming this morning on Twitch on Fortnite. So I
See,
hopped up, bro. It was his first stream because I saw on his story this morning he was going to be on Twitch, and I was like, hold up, Tom Billy's gonna be playing Fortnite. So I jumped on the Twitch, and there was like 8 people, and I was like, bro, this is
what?
insane. This guy has, I swear, this guy has millions of followers,
No,
and he has
that's
like.
huge, bro.
And
What?
I was just like chatting with him, like, oh, like, yo, he's right behind you. And he was just like
Exactly.
super accessible.
And even if like that's the thing about live streams. That's why we're doing this. I really love live streams because they're just so raw and you're like hanging out with somebody, even if we're not looking at your chats. Like you're in the room with me right now, and
Exactly.
that's the coolest part to me. So like I started doing it on TikTok, and of course, like I said before, I make like a niche for each thing. So like
Hmm.
I had a whole different account that's more targeted towards gamers. I
Right.
start posting gaming clips of other people or all types of stuff. So I'm building like a community of gamers so that
Hmm.
if I want, I can sell to that type of person. I've already been doing it every day because I decided, all right, TikTok Live right now is popping. If you guys aren't using TikTok Live, you need to be, because
100%.
it's super helpful. You have to get onto TikTok Live.
I agree. I agree. TikTok Live has. I started streaming like 7 weeks ago, bro, and it's been fucking amazing. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've been making content for like 2.5 years. I tried the live on Instagram and everything else, but this one has been something that's genuinely surprised me in terms of like the traction. Because I think what happens is like when you go live stream, it just shows it to a bunch of people, kind
Yes,
of like a for you
bro, they
page.
put it on the For You page. They
Yeah,
put it on the For. That's the difference, is they put it into your feed, and that's not something on Instagram. On Instagram, you have to actually be following the person, and you'll see it at the top.
exactly. And even Twitch, bro. Like I've tried using it, but I didn't really get any traction. I like
Yeah,
my
that one's
idea
hard.
is, yeah, dude. My idea is perhaps like streaming on TikTok and then funneling
Yeah,
the people into Twitch, like saying,
Twitch
"Hey,
is
by the way,
meant to
yeah,
be the way they made it is like you have to bring people onto their platform, which is
right, right,
honestly their problem. And honestly, if they marketed better, then they would actually have a better position, because they need to make it more shareable and easier to find people. Because I remember I would stream all the time and have like one viewer, if that.
yeah, me too, me too."
And then it's like on TikTok, I just started literally like 4 days ago. I just went live for more, at least a couple hours every day. And I swear, like, I've had like 100 people follow me. I've like made money. Not even a lot, like
Yeah,
50
no,
cents.
I know what you're
But
saying. Yeah,
what?
because
I
of the
made 50
gifts.
cents off
Yeah,
of like
yeah, because they
five,
send
5 days.
gifts. They've really done a good job, bro. They've gamified it, so like people send gifts all the time. They make it accessible for like a bunch of people to share it. So like if someone likes what you're saying, they could press a button that says share to their followers and their audience. Like,
Exactly.
hey, I'm on this live. So
It's the
it's
way
been
they're making
amazing.
it shareable too. Like that's so
Yeah.
important and helpful. And then like they still have things they could improve, but overall it's really good. And they've made it easy to use. And they've made
For
it easy
sure.
to use for everybody. It's really annoying. They have some comment filtering stuff on there that's really stupid.
Yeah, sometimes I'm
And
like, why did they filter that?
and they also don't let you go live if you're under 18, which is really
Oh, okay.
annoying.
Yeah.
Uh because like I had some kid hop in my live. It was funny.
Hmm.
And they kicked him off.
No
he,
shot.
he was playing the Fortnite with me.
Oh shit.
But yeah, basically, point is like definitely something that people should start doing is like thinking of just not even just doing TikTok live, but in general, figure out where can you get new people to see you
Hmm.
or whatever you're trying to get people to see,
Yeah.
and do that. So like I was gonna help people, do live stream webinars, but
Mhm.
instead of webinar, like actually do it on like a really uh like normal,
Yeah.
like TikTok live or Instagram live. You
Bro,
realize,
one, I agree with that 1,000%, bro.
yeah, like I'm gonna help people do that. If anyone's trying to get like a script for a webinar or whatever, just hit me up and we'll like build something out so you can get leads. Like you can get qualified leads through socials just
Bro, that's
using live
serious.
streams.
I realized that, when I initially started, I was trying to do like group calls and stuff and have the Zoom link and be like, hey guys, like you could join for free. And bro, like 99% of the time, no one would join. But I realized with the live stream, like if you just go live on the platform they're at, they might stick around. So it's
Yep.
like the easier you make it for them to stay on and like
Exactly.
listen, it's the
That's why I
move.
was trying to stream this on YouTube, because people don't want to download something new or like click
They don't
something
want
that
to
they're
click a
not
link.
familiar
They're just like, bro, I'm already here. Just like,
with.
what do you got?
And it's cool if it's a link to YouTube. I just think that YouTube is something they already have, so they're more familiar. And the more familiar people are with something, the easier it is for them to trust it. And that's
Yeah.
why consistency is so important. If you're like irregularly posting heavily, like it's not even slightly regular, it's just randomly throughout the year, one time. No one cares because they can't expect anything from you, and they don't really feel consistent. So I was
Mhm.
actually going to go into, you brought that up earlier about consistency. I was going to go into brand consistency,
Mhm.
because I find it, the way that I've been explaining what a brand is for people that don't even realize what it is as a whole is like, I think of a brand as a tattoo. And
Mhm.
like back in the day, they called it a brand,
Right. That's
you know.
true. Yeah.
So like, it's like a tattoo, and if it's not consistent, that's a symbol that stands for something. That's
Hmm.
really what it is. And like your personal brand, it stands for something.
Yeah.
It stands for who you are, and then you have to ask, okay, who are you? So
Right.
anybody that's making a personal brand, before you make the personal brand, you need to realize what are you trying to, like, what do you stand for as a brand,
Mhm.
you know,
Like for myself personally,
for everybody. I just meant for everybody watching, but you too. I mean, what do you stand for? You know, like your brand. Whenever people think of Wall Street Poppy,
yeah, like when I make content, bro, I just want people to get some benefit out of it. I don't want like any FOMO. I don't want any sense of just like this guy is superior in any way, shape, or form. I'm just a normal human being that I share things that I learned that have benefited me and things that a lot of times I'll make a video and it's kind of like a note to self that maybe it's dealing with something related to investing or stocks or budgeting, etc. And I just pass that knowledge along. And that's pretty much like the idea of the content.
whenever you started it, did you know like what was your goal? I guess.
To be honest, I just saw what was going on with social media. Like I saw a ton of videos of Gary Vee telling people like make content. And then when I started looking into it, I realized that there is a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of attention that goes towards social media and just putting yourself out there in a positive way can can do good things. You could eventually do your own thing, and that's what I always want to do. So from my standpoint, I was like, let me just put myself out there. Initially, I started talking about crypto, and that was like the thing I was focused on. So I would talk about like what Bitcoin was, what a blockchain was, because that was what I was like genuinely researching at the time. And then as I progressed, I just started being like a little bit more broad in the sense of talking about things I was thinking about, things I'm reading in books. And I felt like it was better for myself in terms of like I enjoyed it more and I felt more passionate about it because for me, it was cool talking about crypto and stuff. And I still do talk about it. But for that to be my singular focus, I just didn't like, I don't know, I didn't really feel the connection with it. And then that's when I kind of pivoted to mind, body, money because I'm very much into things related to mental models and things related to working out and things related to monetizing online, investing, etc. And then that's where I pretty much like stayed at for a while now, and that's pretty much like where I see it going. I just know for now, like in order for myself to grow and to take that next step, I just need to hone in a little bit onto like one specific vertical that I could help someone out and then kind of like grow upon that audience for myself. So
You first decide who you are, like who you want to be, and who you're becoming, and you become who you think you are. So you realize who you are and like who you want to be, and like I want to be a strong, like I want to be fit, and so then I'm gonna be in the gym because that's who I am. Same for whatever else you do, like everything
yeah,
you've been doing. I'm sure it takes a lot in entrepreneurship. It's not easy. It's not
it's
easy.
not it's not easy at all, bro. It's super fucking hard.
I just had to tell them that.
Yeah,
I feel like people
yeah,
think
it's
that it's just like, okay, well, yeah, yeah. Once you get to a certain thing, if it feels easier. I just think that it's not easy, but it's also not easy to be a loser.
yeah,
And you're
no,
not a
it is.
loser if you're not an entrepreneur either. I'm just
Right.
saying, in general, you need to be doing what you want. And if you
Yeah.
actually want, if you don't want to be doing what you're doing at all, maybe try to figure out a way not to do it.
Yeah, like I always try to think about that situation of like being old and 95 and in like your deathbed and thinking like, did I really do the shit I wanted to do?
Hmm.
And like there's a lot of things that people need to consider, right? Like so for most, I think the author of the subtle art of not giving a fuck, Mark Manson, he talks about life as a video game. And he pretty much says like you have to pass levels 1 and 2 in order to actually be like free to do the things you want. So like level 1 is food, water, and shelter. So no matter what's going on, like someone in Venezuela right now is trying to figure out how to get past that level, can't even fathom, all right, like let me do what I feel passionate about. They're really just like on survival mode. So
Yep.
once Mark Manson says like once people pass that, level 2 is finding a place that's safe, like of war and violence. And then once individuals have enough to pass levels 1 and 2, now they could figure out like, all right, what is it that I want? And kind of tying back to what I was talking about earlier, there's a concept that Noah Kagan talks about of target monthly income. And most people don't really go through that rabbit hole of saying, all right, like what is actually the life I want? Is it going on vacation once a month? Is it going to Starbucks every day? Whatever it is, calculating how much that costs you and then figuring out like how can I get to that target income versus always saying I need more and more and more, which I think a lot, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people go through that rabbit hole of saying they need more and more and more money, but maybe that's not necessarily the answer. It's just doing something
Very true.
they feel like a little bit more enthusiasm of like waking up and doing that thing.
To be honest, like yes, money's important, but there's just so much more to life than money. And like I think that
Mm.
it's helpful. Obviously, it's gonna make your life better, but there's just you need to know what matters the most and like why you want the money. And like
Mm.
if you figure that out, then you realize like, okay, well, I could just make money doing the thing I already want to do if I just build it.
Yeah, I
But
think that
it's not
there's a
immediate.
story. Yeah, there's a story about that this guy he goes to like this random fishing town in Mexico. The dude's fishing there, and this guy's a fisherman. He's been there for 30 years, and the guy he's from America and he's a businessman. So he goes up to the guy and he's like, "Oh, do you like sell the fish?" He's like, "No, I just like fish for fun." And then he tells the fisherman like, "Bro, what are you doing? Like you can make an LLC, you could get your own product, you get the labeling, you could distribute this." And then the fisherman, he's like, "Well, why would I do that?" The guy from America is like, "Well, to make more money and then you could do whatever you want." And then the fisherman's like, "Well, I already do whatever I want. So what's the point of going through that whole mission?" And it's like an important realization that it's like the fisherman was already doing like he's having his dream life, like he's just fishing there every day. But this other guy from the US is like the businessman. He's telling him like, "Bro, you can make so much money off this." And then the guy's like, "But why would I need all that money, like if I could already do what I want to do right now?"
Exactly. That's a
So
good
it's
analogy.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a truth to that, bro, because like once again, I think most people are in that game. I don't know if it's because like we inadvertently don't think about that we do care about what others think on social media and shit like that, or we play the social status game, which I feel like for most it might be that of just thinking like, oh, what does my family think about me, and then like what do the people that I went to high school or college with on Instagram think about me, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, like let me keep doing this thing. And typically when you have that thought initially and you're doing that thing, it's typically not a good sign that you're actually doing what you want.
Yeah. Like in Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. This is where I'm at right now. But I usually
Yeah.
was in LA. It's a lot different than people in LA. Like in LA, they're used to content creators and putting themselves out there and like they've seen people succeed and they see it every day.
Hmm.
And here, no one sees it. Like no one
All right.
sees it. They see it online, but they don't like ever see it in person. So I noticed the difference in type of person that I talk to and like how they see things. And it's very rare to see a content creator out here. So, and I obviously I think that we're more than content creators. I just think that that's something you start doing when you realize you can
Yeah.
actually impact more people or get to more people. But I don't know. My point is,
It's
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
no that it's interesting, bro, because like I feel most people they don't do that thing because they think it's impossible. Like let's say in Oklahoma,
Yep.
people look at content and they're like, that's impossible. I can't do that shit. But sometimes it just takes that belief, and as cliche as that shit sounds, because if that weren't true, then like there wouldn't constantly be broken records in the Olympics. Like every year you'll see like, oh, new world record, new world record. And I think from my standpoint, the way I see it, it's because they see someone did that time in the 100-meter dash and they're like, wait, that's possible time? Let me see if I could actually get that time. And then eventually it gets broken. So it's just like what we tell ourselves is possible, as corny as that shit sounds, is fucking
No,
true,
it's
bro. Like
so true.
we have to believe it because if not, we're not going to move accordingly. Like if we think it's impossible, we're not going to put in the effort versus let's say we were on some Kanye West shit and we really were like 100,000 all in on ourselves, we would move accordingly. Like we would put in effort because we're like, no, like this is going to happen. It's going to work. Like, and you're gonna
It's
move
how
with
I
that
feel.
energy.
You know, that's
Yeah,
how I feel. That's
I
why I'm
love that.
posting.
Hell yeah,
So it's like, why would I post if I didn't think it was gonna do something for somebody and like actually
hell
do
yeah,
something for me? And
exactly.
I think it has to do a little bit of both. You know, it's like there's a big amount of selflessness in what I'm doing, but it's also there's slight selfishness as well because it helps all of us. And I think that for me, it's like the whole point was like, all right, I know if I enjoy it, then someone else out there does. And that's what you should always think about with whatever you're doing. Even if the people around you don't like fully get it, that they don't have to get it. Maybe there's some dude in like Australia
Hundred
that
percent.
feels the same way and finally finds someone they can identify with. And so yeah, for me, I don't know. That's what it is for me. All of my videos are notes to myself. These
Yeah,
videos right here, I'm gonna be able to watch back, and I'm gonna be able to apply whatever we talk about because it's all self-development.
yeah. I think in Tools of Titans they talk about this thing of like the tribal 1,000 that a lot of people get focused on the width versus the depth of their following. So if you just had 1,000 people that were like diehards to whatever you have going, then that's all you really need to like make this a
Yeah,
reality.
it's like
So
that.
people, yeah,
It's like that 80-20 thing. I'm pretty sure it's actually proven that like 20% or less of a usually it's less than 20% of an entire company's audience is what makes 80% of their income.
damn, yeah, that's Pareto's law. It's like they talk about it from like a time efficiency standpoint that they say like 20% of our inputs are 80% of our outputs.
Exactly.
So
So it's
maybe
the
we
same
might,
thing.
yeah, we might do like 8 hours of work today, but maybe this hour was like the one that really made the difference or some shit.
Exactly, but at the same time, that's all about perspective because think about how many hours we put into the craft of even being able to speak or being able to like know what we believe because we talked about it so much. So all those other hours they still mattered. It's just that there is 20% of your entire, the whole of you doing the work that will make the biggest difference,
Yeah.
So I just think that people need to stop discounting their everyday little things that they're doing because they all accumulate, as you know, in stocks. It's like compounding interest.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's literally compounding interest. Like every day we try to lay that brick down as perfectly as we can. That's like something that Will Smith says in one of his interviews that we're not focused on building a big ass wall today. We're just focused on how we can lay that brick down just like as perfectly as you can, and then we move forward. And I think I don't know, from my own perspective, sometimes where I feel like I fuck up in my mind is that I tell myself like, "Oh, I'm not making any progress" because I feel like we're in that routine of like everything is quick. Like the content we consume now is like 10 seconds. We have social media, it's very fast, and like if we don't see progress in a week, we're like, "Damn, I didn't do anything positive today." But like at least for myself, once I zoom out, if I look at a 5 month, 6 month, a year time frame, I'm like, no, there's definitely been progress in the right direction. I just gotta be more patient.
And it all always relates to the gym. It's like one of the main thing I've been talking about with my friends is like the main thing that changed my. Honestly, I saw a lot more progress once I realized and found out that a muscle, the way that it grows, is that it breaks and then it rebuilds. You
Hmm.
have to actually break the muscle and to the point where it's broken down, you have to keep going. That takes pain. And that's really how everything is in life. It's like you have to be pushing yourself past where you normally would go so
Hmm.
that it can rebuild stronger and bigger. And with the gym, the progress thing you were talking about, not seeing it and seeing all these people on social media. And I know people younger than me that make way more money than me. Like,
100%. So do
I
I.
know a lot of people that are younger than me that have done huge stuff that, and I'm still doing, I've done some cool stuff, but it's like whenever you look at that stuff, that's the struggle. You know, you talked about your struggles, so I wanted to bring that up because I think some people look at people on Instagram, even like me and you, and just think like, okay, they don't really realize that these people have those struggles, the same
Mm.
problems. We have the
Yeah.
same problems, you know. Like, I look at this dude on the internet, or even people I know in real life. I know a guy that like worked with Netflix already, and I know a guy that's like worked with the Super Bowl um and the All-Star game, and it's just like I could keep going. And you're just,
Right.
I'm still doing big stuff and stuff, and then I look at that and I'm like, I'm behind, man. I'm behind.
Happens to
But
all of us, bro.
it's
There's
like
always
really,
gonna be someone that's like, it may seem like they're doing something more epic. Like that's just like life, bro. We're always gonna see that, and we're gonna kind of feel like, oh, we're behind or things of that sort. But at least I try to remind myself. And once again, bro, like I'm just like any other person. I definitely have those internal conversations myself to this day. Like I'll see something and be like, damn, like
me too.
yeah, I'm not grow like there's a Hawk Tool girl that has 5 million followers or something, and I'm just like, damn, bro, I'm still not growing, but it's
That
just
one was a bit more. I don't usually believe in luck, but that one was a bit more lucky. If anything's lucky, that
yeah,
was a bit more lucky. That's
yeah,
like a viral
right,
moment. But like, I definitely feel you because
yeah,
like, man, it's not easy, bro. Just with this day and age, seeing all these people on the internet. I know it must be difficult for women
yeah,
nowadays, even worse than ever. You know, we got the comparison is ridiculous, man. I
hundred
always meet
percent,
women wanting to change something about their body and their face.
yeah. I just remind myself, bro, like a lot, like 99% of the population would have stopped a long time ago in trying to do something that's very similar to what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like most people don't have that discipline or the vision to keep doing it. So the fact that you're still making that content every day, it's still putting out that and like your vision is set on that, that's going to go a long way. So it's just a matter of like continuously progressing, bro. Because you never know. Maybe next year you're freaking doing a podcast with Gary Vee. Like shit is wild, bro. Like this shit is wild. So,
You're right, man. That's
so
everything can change overnight and after 30 years.
yeah, no,
After
for sure,
after
for
30
sure,
years it'll change overnight. But
no, for sure,
you know, that's why it's funny to me because like they're gonna call it an overnight success anytime
hundred
something big
percent, bro.
happens overnight. But like really, it's all that work you did before that gets you to where you're
Exactly.
trying to go. It's every little day. And that's why the gym again it relates so much. You have to consistently work out. And
Yeah,
now I've had the same problem you were talking about, like not noticing the progress or not believing that anything's changing. That's really where the problem comes from. Once you start believing that something's changing and you are getting where you're trying to go, like I swear everything's easier. It's just
100%.
it's different.
Yeah, I feel like the harder you are on yourself on the day to day, it just makes the journey more difficult. And also, like one exercise I've done before that I should do more times, like more often, is like zooming out and saying, you know what, let's do that simulation where things work out perfectly, exactly how I wanted to, and I'm making a decent amount of money doing what I'm doing, have a great following, and we're like 80 years old. I think at that point we'd really just be like, damn, I would love to just reset and do that shit all over again because that journey was fucking dope.
Yeah, bro.
And
Yeah.
in like realizing that this is like the dope moments. Like this is the dope moments of trying to build it. This is what it's all about. It's not even like the end goal. There's not really an end goal. It's just the constant progression of like doing that thing. Because if you were to just, let's say you started this massive company, you sold it and you became a billionaire, I feel like even with $1 billion, you'd just be like, damn, but I'm missing something. Like I'm missing something that I could like go after and do something I feel passionate about. So
It's like Jay Waller said once, I really loved it. He said, A man climbs a mountain just to sabotage himself so that he can climb it again. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's so true. Like,
yeah,
you have to have a mountain to climb. That's what he was saying.
hundred
And
percent.
I always will, because I have a giant mountain to climb that is so big that, well, I don't see it like I won't finish it, but it's possible I die along the way, you
Yeah,
know? And you have to continue to have more and more. So such giant goals, they don't even make sense. And
yeah, that's true. It's
it's
kind of
really
like
crazy.
you have to be slightly delusional in a sense. I've heard that. I've heard that from like multiple people, like people that are successful in their own verticals, and I feel like there's some truth to that. Like that slight delusion has to be there that you could do something differently because that's gonna make you move a little bit differently than like what you normally see. So like if I don't have that vision of saying like, you know what, like I could fuck around and have podcasts with the, Tom Billions of the world, the Gary V's. If I don't really like kind of think with that mindset, it's probably not gonna happen. I'm just gonna be like, you know what, that's kind of impossible. But if I say, you know what, maybe it can happen, I might take that step today and tomorrow to actually get me there. So
Exactly, bro. I
yeah.
mean, whenever I started the podcast, it's just crazy because just in general, there's so many people I didn't know. Back then, I didn't know a lot of people that made a ton of money.
Mm,
And it's like, what changed was just putting myself there. And also, the reason why I feel like these people would be able to talk to me is because I put in a lot of work into like understanding, again, myself in business and how to speak, how
mm,
to network with people. And I've realized that the number one networking gem I can give for anybody out there is that people just want to feel like you understand what they're saying. Like,
mm,
honestly, in a
yeah.
big way. Like if I'm talking to you, or if you're talking to someone, if you feel like you're not understood by them, it's like a waste of your time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think people look for that in the standpoint of just like they want to feel like what they're telling you can provide you value as well. Um, like
And at
I
least
think the
that you're
reason,
taking it, because I feel like
yeah,
that if someone's telling you something, they feel like you're not even like applying it whatsoever,
right,
or you don't have to apply what someone thinks. I mean, I have perspectives, but I think honestly, it's just seeing the value in everybody. You never, you never know who someone is and like what they've done and what they're doing. Honestly,
100%, bro. I agree
what were
with
you
that.
saying though?
No, I was just saying from the standpoint of people also want to help out individuals that they see something in them too. Because I think for at least those individuals that have made it in their perspective, field, or vertical, they remember when they were trying to, come up in that thing. And someone along the lines probably helped them out in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like paying it forward.
and that's the thing. One little thing could be the biggest thing that happens in your life. It'll change everything. And
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's
like, all
true.
right, so I'm gonna ask you after. I'll tell everybody my goals so that whenever it happens, you can watch the podcast back. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to do the same thing for you too. But it doesn't have to be every goal, but like, bro, we're gonna win anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so for me, I literally started the podcast knowing that I will get anyone I want on it. That's how I feel. Like at the end of the day,
No,
not
bro.
just anybody I choose right now, but like eventually it will be whoever I want. And I plan to have like the biggest people, like, even Trump, you know,
Hell yeah.
Andrew Tate. So like that's the long term, as well as doing like my life isn't all about a podcast. My life is about providing value and something to leave behind for people to like be better than me, earlier than me. Like
Mm.
that's really honestly what I'd like to do. So I mean, I'm gonna be a musician, a famous musician. I'm gonna be a famous speaker in all types of ways, like TED Talk, whatever it is. And then the main thing is gonna be about impact, though. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Like that's the goal, and that's what's gonna happen. and that's how I see things. And the fact that I see them happening is why I get up and do the thing. No matter what I'm going through, no matter when I had nothing, I was living in my car in LA, still making the videos. No one
Yeah.
knew that I was even doing that. A lot of people
Respect.
didn't. So like, thank you. And so I'm just saying, like, it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, most of us all have phones. I haven't met somebody that
Mm.
doesn't have a phone, unless it's like
Yeah.
a someone homeless. But even then, you can find a way.
100%.
What
100%. I
were
think
your goals, man?
my goals, I want to be speaker, author. I want to write a book, and I've thought about this concept of like pillars, where I talk about the three different categories of mind, body, and money. But ideally, like right now, I'm doing live events and personal boot camps on financial literacy. So I did my first one in Miami with like 30 people, and I want to do tours around the U.S. teaching people about money and ways to manage it. Most people don't really know how to manage their finances, and it's probably one of the biggest stresses of all time.
Yeah,
So for the upcoming years, I want to be focused on that, and then when I grow, I want to then pivot and be a little bit more broad and do a little bit more well-rounded as to the things I want people and myself to improve on more, just my mind, my fitness, and then just my money. So that's where I
awesome,
kind of see this going. Yeah.
sweet, bro. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what we were talking about earlier about money. What I was saying about like knowing what matters. Money absolutely matters. It's like just that's how you give. Money is really just I'm trying to define it for people. So I know that's your whole thing anyways, so I might as well let you do that. But I was gonna explain kind of what gives currency value anyway, and like why is it so important. That's what I want you to
Yeah. So
answer.
really, currency and money, you just look at it as value exchange. So if we go back to the dawn of human time, the inception, it was bartering. So if I was a farmer and you were a baker, in order for us to exchange value, I would have to exchange my dozen of eggs for your cake. And that's how we made things work in this society. But one of the issues with bartering is that there is effectively no median of exchange. So if you don't want what I have and vice versa, we can't actually provide value to one another. And as we fast forward through time, society tried to utilize different things. So there was a point in time where we used gold or just precious metals to have a median that all of us can have. And that's why Egyptians and rappers and artists still value it to this day. There's a couple different components of gold that apply to value and money. So one of them is scarcity. No matter what, any money we use in society has to have some sort of scarcity component. If there was an infinite amount of it, it'd be effectively worthless. And there has to be durability. If it's easy to break or easy to pretty much lose, etc., then the value slowly diminishes. And pretty much like as we fast forward today, we're at a point where we utilize something called fiat currency, which is just this paper backed money that is backed by the full faith of the government. One of the things that is important to mention is that with fiat currencies, it is controlled by centralized entities. So, in the case of the United States, the central bank pretty much does what's called monetary policy, and they are able to control the money supply and effectively do what they believe is right in terms of giving us stimulus when times of need, etc. But one of the things, like tying back to your original question of the value of money, it's very nuanced because now for all of us here in the US, we all use dollars to pay for our rent, our bills, and shit like that. But most people don't really realize that the purchasing power of fiat currencies and specifically the dollar goes down year after year after year because there's an increase in the supply of it. So, like the analogy I give people, it's like if there's a one of one LeBron James rookie card and a one of 1 million, obviously the one of one would be much more valuable. And the second analogy that I give for people to kind of tie this and kind of get the pieces together, it's if tomorrow we all woke up here in America with 10 million US dollars in our bank account, people may think, holy shit, that's amazing. I'm going to be rich as hell. But the reality is, when there's an infinite increase in supply of dollars and there's a finite set of resources, if you go to the dealership in Oklahoma, to the Rolls Royce dealership, there's going to be a line of 1 million people all from your city trying to buy that same car. So in theory, the price of everything goes up. And that's why like the conversation happens of like shit getting expensive. It's not that shit is getting expensive. It's just what our dollars can buy us becomes less over time because of that infinite money glitch. So in reality, that's something that most people don't really understand. Like they could intuitively see it. They zoom out and they're like, I used to go to Subway and pay $5 for a sandwich and now I pay 15 or whatever the case may be. But they don't understand like this is all a game. This is all some simulation that we're all thrown into. And most people don't really zoom out and figure out like what is going on. They're focused on the day-to-day shit, the work. Then they have to get home, they have responsibilities to take care of, they have family, friends, etc. By the time they look up, it's Sunday and they're fucking dead tired, and they repeat and they go on the next day, the next week, and they still don't kind of tie the pieces together with the value of wealth, which I think is one of the most important things, because some countries experience hyperinflation, where Venezuela 1 year experienced 180,000% in inflation, meaning that there was this infinite money glitch that all the wealth that you thought you had is no longer worth anything. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but if you look just back in any time frame, the value has decreased. In the past 30 years, the value of the dollar has decreased by like 50%, and it's typically every single year it loses 2 to 3% on the wealth. So that's kind of like a nutshell as to what goes on.
Yeah, I thought that was a good thing to ask you. You answered it really well. So
Yeah,
perfect.
I got you, bro.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, just a couple more things, and then we can wrap it up. But
Yeah.
regrets. I was gonna
Hmm.
bring up regrets because it was kind of a topic earlier in a way.
Hmm.
You brought it up a little bit. For me, it's all about like you need to do whatever you can to not be on your deathbed at the end of the day and regretting anything, you know.
Hmm.
And so like sometimes, yeah, you can't control what other people do. You can't control how the outcome is always, but you can control what you put into things. And that really it really does directly correlate with obviously what the output is of your life.
Hmm.
And there's like there was a person that I wanted to, I guess, reach out to, and I did, even though it was like hard to do because it was like years later, or not even years later, later on. And so I knew that I wanted this person to be in my life, or at least to know that I tried to have this person in my life.
Hmm.
So I reached out to that person, and I swear that's just like the fact that I did what I needed to do already, um, just takes off a regret from my deathbed.
Yeah, I know what
So
you're saying, bro. I feel you. Yeah.
yes, I was just trying to explain really in that analogy. It's like that's the same for anything you do. As long as you do what you, as long as you're gonna feel better if you tried. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. It's like those situations where you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna do my best, and if it doesn't turn out, then fuck it. Like at least I know internally I did whatever I could possible to make that situation whole. You know, so I feel like that's a good place to be at. Like I don't ever want to leave anything from the standpoint of, maybe I could have taken a little bit more ownership, responsibility, or said something differently from my side. As long as I do my best and I truly feel like that, then I think that's all that I could really like care about.
Yeah, man. And you have to give yourself a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
If you don't give yourself a chance, how are you gonna do it? Like it's either you guarantee your failure by not trying, or you try and give yourself a chance to win. And then the more chances you've taken to win, the more likely you are to win. And that's where people keep blaming everything on luck, but even the person that bought a lottery ticket had to buy the lottery ticket to win the lottery. And I'm
It's
not
true.
saying that it's smart always, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's like you have to give people their credit that they do what they had to put themselves in position to receive a blessing for that
Hmm.
blessing to happen. For me, a
It's
lot
true.
of miraculous things have happened to me that like are going to jumpstart my career on like a whole another level
Hmm.
that wouldn't have happened if I didn't just go and like take the risk of just putting myself in a spot that allows me to possibly have it happen, you know?
100%.
So I guess
100%.
that's really one of the main things I wanted to say. And then like a couple more questions and we're good. For you, when you think of what contributed to like who you are now and like who you're proud of, what comes to mind? What impacted you?
I mean, I feel like I've always been somewhat driven like by myself. When I was younger, I really I don't know, for some reason, I was very inspired to play basketball by like Dwayne Wade, and that was like my thing. Like, I just loved doing it. No one kind of pushed me to do it. And then as like the years progressed, I kind of felt like a fire in me to just like prove myself and also to prove to people, which sometimes it's not a good place to be at. Typically, from what I've seen, to kind of try to prove other people as to like what you're worth.
Very true,
But
actually.
I think when I was young, that was really like my focus. Is just like, people maybe said I was dumb, or like, oh, I went to community college. That's like 13th grade, and you hear shit like that, and it's just like I want to just prove to them, but mostly like prove to myself as well that I could do something epic and do something that most people couldn't fathom me doing. And that's really the thing that I think drove me a lot earlier on.
I think that
And
is a good fire starter.
yeah, no, I agree, bro. Like, I feel like there's different types of energy you could channel, and sometimes negative energy could be like good. It's not always like a good thing to be like, oh, I'm a fucking prove ever. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that energy has to be from like a positive state most of the time, but sometimes that negative shit could really drive you when people it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you're gonna do content, that's fun, that's cool, and it's like, all right, like let's see what happens. So
Yeah.
like I've always had that kind of in me, and like that
Me
negative
too,
self
bro.
talk sometimes kind of fuels me. Like sometimes I'm
Yeah.
just like, all right, like people really think like I'm fucking around here. All right, let's see. Like I'm gonna show them what's up.
Oh yeah.
But you know, but I don't know, bro. Like I just really just try to stay in my own lane because once again, if I stay in that negative energy, I'm then gonna be comparing myself to other people, and that's
Well,
not what I
here's what it
want.
is to me,
Yeah,
bro. It is.
yeah,
I always think of things as going into people's worlds and like you have your own world and they have their world, and it's like whenever you're focused on proving other people right, you're going in their world. Or proving other people wrong. I mean, and so for me, I shifted from I'm gonna prove all these people wrong, and I shifted it to I'm gonna prove myself right. I don't care what they think, because it's not about what they want for me. It's not about what they think of me. It's about what I think of me and what I know of me and what I know I'm capable of based on who I am. I'm the one that has the thoughts I have and knows what I'm capable of the most, and you
mhm,
are too.
yeah,
So people get so caught up in worrying about what someone else wants for them or what they think of them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Whenever they're dead or you're dead, none of this is going to matter realistically. It's not even about that. It's about what happened. What happened is going to be what people think of, and like what did you try to do? And
right.
that's what people will think of. And even if they think something that's not true, who cares what they think? I really believe it'll all come down to your own consciousness, your own what do you think?
Yeah,
And that's going to make the most difference in your entire life. Uh, you want to be proud of yourself. I said this in like the last video, I think, one recently. If you make yourself proud, you won't be miserable. But if you don't make yourself proud, that's where the real miserable life comes from, because you just know that you didn't do it or do enough to at least try,
yeah.
you know?
That's deep. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think trying to put myself in that mode is something that it's a constant reminder. Like it's not, I don't feel like I could ever hear that and then I'll never have to hear it again. It's
No,
always kind of
never.
like
Same for anything, though, honestly.
recurring. Yeah, like the gym. Like if I worked out for 10 years straight and I stopped working out today and I didn't work out for like 10 years, well, I'm gonna lose pretty much like all the progress or a lot of it. So it's kind of like a checkup we have to do from time to time.
I had a friend, he said, it's mental fitness, not mental health. And that was a really good
Yeah, I like that.
analogy because, like, yeah, it's a muscle. Like
Yeah.
your mind and the way that it processes information is a muscle because it will consistently be consuming things and producing things and consuming things and producing things. So all of the consumption that you're taking in is really affecting what you're producing as well. And so it's okay to like take in entertainment and things like that, but you need to be fully aware, like what what is it doing to you and why? And then figure out what should I be consuming that's more healthy for my mind and for my fitness, my mental fitness. So yeah, that's a really big thing I talk about a lot is subliminal programming, which you're doing to yourself as well. Whenever you say something, the last thing you said is a reference point in your head. And so the last thing that you said, it's ringing. Have you ever noticed like the last thing you hear kind of like sticks around in your mind because it's the last thing that you can refer to,
Right.
the last piece of information you can refer to that's in your head. So
Right.
naturally, you start hearing it over and over. Like if I said something and just stopped talking, it probably you wouldn't even realize it, but it'd be ringing.
That's crazy. Yeah. I think that is true. That's
And then your
it's like
mind, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is true and what it heard. It just takes everything and
it's
you know,
fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts.
yeah.
I used to be like the type of person that I would read these like self help books and they talk about different concepts of like better your mind and like your spirit and all this and like I didn't really give too much weight to it younger, but like I've realized over time that we really do control a lot of shit that like we tell ourselves, bro. Like our how we feel. A lot of it is really dealt with how we paint our life. Like if I go right now on my balcony, I say like my life is dope as fuck and I feel great, and I say that like 10 times. I know for a fact I'm gonna feel better from just doing that. Like I will literally feel like, damn, my life is dope. All right. But like if I tell my story like, oh man, I still haven't made it yet, or different bullshit like that, then I'm gonna play that victim in my mind, and that's gonna be like my overall approach. Like I'm not gonna be moving accordingly how I should.
It's like spelling is called spelling. Have you ever heard of that? They call it spelling because you're casting spells with
Uh
your words and you're speaking. And
yeah.
I feel like speaking has to do with spelling too.
Yeah.
So like, um, yeah, dude, it's very powerful. Your words are powerful. The things you see. I think that audibly things are more powerful audibly than they are visibly.
Hmm.
But that's just because the mind like really, really, really internalizes sound. Everything's frequency.
Hmm.
Everything. It's proven that every single type of information, even a thought, is all frequency. They all have a frequency. So it's pretty crazy how I think that's why this sound is probably more impactful and powerful. That's why whenever they have like an arena in the Super Bowl, they they do certain things. They want to program you, and they have this big arena of energy,
Mm.
and they're cultivating things with the music and all types of stuff. You'll just notice like some weird common themes. So I don't want to go too deep into this
Yeah.
because of the people in charge of everything.
Yeah.
But
100%.
yeah, but that's just like be aware, like what are they doing?
Right.
And I noticed it a lot in LA. This is where they broadcast everything. I've talked about this before. That's why I felt like I was supposed to be there.
Mm.
It's like I realized, all right, the people that don't want the best for the world, they don't want the best for the people in the world other than themselves, right?
Mm.
Those types of people are using subliminal programming.
Mm.
And they don't the stuff that you don't realize that I always say is the back end of your mind. So
Right.
that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah. We
last
could, we
thing,
could jump into that. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, bro.
oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, no, I was saying we definitely need to run back episode 2 on this
Yeah,
one.
I'm
Yeah,
down. I have the guys, everybody. There's this one podcast I did with Jeff Lundin. It's in my link in bio as well. You guys
mm,
should definitely watch that. I talked about some of that stuff. But basically, we went through basically everything I needed to know. Other than one more last thing I did want to say, or not just say, we'll have like very short um, part about community college
Mm,
because I went to community college for 2 years.
mm.
And what were you talking about with community college? People like
That
something about it.
people, yeah, people look down on me a lot because most of people I went to high school with, they were going to those 4U universities, and they kind of just like put you into this little black box of like, oh, this is the type of person he is, or like this is what he's going to amount to, kind of thing. And I had like a lot of people that have come to me over the years and told me like, bro, to be honest, I didn't see anything like you did based off like what I thought of you in my high school. Like the things you've done have generally like surprised me, and it's like from a good standpoint. Like I generally surprise them in a positive way, but it's just like it just goes to show that people kind of they see you and they have like some sort of perspective without actually knowing the true story of like how bad you want something or how truly like how hard you're willing to work to get to something. A lot of people like don't really see that because most of the time it's internal. Like you're not typically broadcasting like, hey guys, like this is who I truly am. Like you just start in your own journey and you figure it out along the way. But I think that's like the detail that at least I saw from myself, that people would kind of like look at me and say like this is what he's going to do.
That's interesting. Was there a certain type of person that seemed to think that of you? Is it, were there, and then what type of people would usually support you?
It was just like I remember I had one comment from my coach in high school that I told him I was going to community college, and once again, like this guy was super dope. Like I love this coach; he was super awesome. But he also was like, "Oh, so you're going to like 13th grade?" And I don't, from a standpoint now in hindsight, I always looked at it of he just wanted the best out of me, so it was just kind of like pushing me to say like you could do better. But also like those are the type of comments I was getting from a lot of people. Like from my neighbors, if they ask me like, "Oh, what are you doing now?" It's like, "Oh, I'm going to community college," and be like, "Oh, well, that's like a start, right?" Like kind of like these little comments. I'm like, "Bro, like what?" So it's just that type of energy. But also, once again, I'm the person that I low key take things very personal, and I remember those like little moments, and it fueled me to be like, all right, like I just want to keep like working and do something epic, so
I
people
took
could be
things
like,
personal too, bro. I got certain things like for example, there whenever I was working at Dillard's, which is a
mm,
place in the mall, and
yeah, yeah, I know Dillard's, yeah,
yeah, and I was it's like if anyone knows what a Macy's is, I know there's a lot of people that don't know what Dillard's is because some places don't have it, but they have
right,
Macy's. It's just like Macy's, like set up the same and everything. So it's an anchor store in the mall. And so like I'm in there working and I'm in a college town. I'm like in there and they'd ask me like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like you go to school?" And I'd be like, "No." And then they're like, "Oh." And I'm like, "What the?"
yeah. You're like,
I'm
that's it. That's all you're
I'm
gonna
like,
say.
I was pissed. So like the thing about me though is even before that happened, I still would get comments like that for years. Like so anyone that's scared to drop out because like they're scared of what people think. It's just funny to me because genuinely I knew while I was in school that I was not for me, it wasn't for me. It just
Yeah,
wasn't for me. It was good for certain people and it's
mm,
good for what you're doing certain people what you're doing
mm,
specifically you needed.
yeah,
But for me I was like they would make comments like that to me. And I also went to community college. I did go to school for 3 years.
mm,
And whenever I was at the second school I went to, it was UCO. So I only was 7 credit hours away. I
mm.
still am. I'm only 7 credit hours away from getting an associate's degree. And I was like, I'm gonna quit anyway. And I'm gonna show people what I can do without it, just so they don't attribute my success to my degree. Because I had
Right,
so many people tell me that I needed a degree that it pissed
right,
me off. And I think that it's great still, like for a lot of people, like you got your master's and I respect it.
yeah,
And it's like for me, I just was like, I just wanted to show people that you can do both.
100%. I think 99% of people don't know what the fuck is going on anyways. Like they're just gonna say some shit because they don't understand. And they're like, oh well. Okay, I don't know where to take this convo. Like, I feel like they just assume like the reality of what they lived through is the reality of what it is now. So I guess for like most older generations, maybe they don't see that people a lot of times like we could actually fuck around and make money on our own and do something with social media and build something. So
Yeah.
I think it's just they don't know.
And even if it's not
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, there's jobs that they
Like
hire you
freelancing.
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
they hire you anyway if you can prove that you'll do a good job. That's what they care about. They just want to
right.
make more money. Like that's
That's hundred
honestly what
percent.
they want. And if they want to make more money, well, sometimes it is a status thing. Sometimes they want a guy they can say, "Oh, well, my employee went to Harvard." But
Exactly.
but like that's the thing. There's tons of companies out there. They just really all they want is results. And if
Hundred
they
percent,
they
bro.
just don't want to see that you have no experience. So even if you're in college, I really encourage all of you to get some sort of experience because that's what they want.
Facts.
So
Yeah, I agree with that, bro.
yeah. Other than that, man, I know it's been a while, but it was worth it. This is a good podcast.
Yeah, bro. This is a hell of a podcast. We need to run it back.
I'm down. So yeah, thanks for hopping on, bro, and let us know your last thoughts. What are the last things you want to leave the world with?
Mm, I would say just stop giving a fuck of what people think about you and do your thing. Like people are gonna look at you funny way or not understand your vision, but just keep doing whatever you're doing and stay focused on that and fuck what everyone else has to say. As long as you're a genuinely good person and you're working at that thing, then that's all that matters. That's all I gotta say.
100%, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. Don't let anyone bring you down.
yeah.
There's no reason to give weight to what they're saying, and unless if you believe it's true, that's the problem.
Mhm.
If and I think that most everything you're ever gonna be, every time you're upset at someone, a lot of the time it comes from a place of something within you.
Mhm.
So find it. That's my last words. Find peace within yourself and know what you stand for, know who you are, and know what you're going to achieve,
Yep.
you know? And even if you don't achieve it, it's like at least know that you were headed for it. So that's all I got to say. Thanks for hopping on,
All right,
bro.
Blake. Thank
It's
you,
been a
man.
pleasure.
Appreciate it, bro. All right. Cheers, man. You too, man. Peace.